Hello everyone, this is Naughty. Now I wanted to show you a game that pretty much consists of professional players. This is typically referred to party versus party or pre versus prearranged versus prearranged. Now the game has some different characteristics from the regular pub game. The first one is most likely 4 players are going to play in the mid-roll. And in the beginning, everybody watches carefully what the other side is doing for the purpose of spotting whether or not they are piloting. Now you can see that 3 people on the other side went to pylon. So what are we going to do? We're going to do the same thing. Because if we would build small units, it would be very easy for them to defend as a team against small units in the beginning, and most likely they are also making a fire bat. So here's the beginning, everybody pylons. Now there are different scenarios how this game plays out. Typically everybody builds in the middle, and their timing of the units and unit selection in the opening minutes of the game is critical, because if somebody matches economy to unit selection to unit production carefully without really taxing their economy, then they're going to be ahead. Let me explain. For example, if one side goes tanks and hydras, and the other side wants to counter that with archons and immortals, the other side is going to have a problem, because the first side is going to be able to deliver their waves much faster, and that may put the other team way behind. So now Black Snow had made a pylons, which is pretty standard. Now we are piling on our side, and as you will see shortly from their income, they are also piloting. Now it is wise to hold off that fire bat and hold off that marine, because they're not doing anything but providing extra minerals for the other side. May not be that big of a deal, but nonetheless. Now, usually somebody becomes like a head of the pack. That person dictates what is going to be primarily built in the middle. Now that doesn't mean that one guy is going to tell everybody else what to do, but usually in the beginning it's common practice to declare what is the strategy for the mid row. Now I had declared, we saw what I declared, probably tanks, immortals, and hydras. So now the reason these units are being placed so close to the mid-draw is because when the lane is pushed, the units, for example that zealot on the bottom lane, will have a tendency to go up and help out the units in the top lane to defend. Then Mac continues with a roach. We are holding bot because there's no reason to give other people extra income. In the beginning, you're not going to win the game playing 4-on-4 with pros. In the beginning, there's no reason to give extra income. Yes, I did repeat myself. Now, you can see the top has been pushed completely, and on top there are no units coming our way. So they are probably doing the same thing. I just see one unit from Eat Out Mill on the top. Now Tatanka gets a queen, and then he follows up with a hydra. Well, queen will play well with fire bat, and then it can be switched to play well with hydra. What am I doing? I'm building a bit more sentries because I don't have enough money to roll out probably an immortal. That is my objective over there, but I do need to keep my economy somewhat going so that it doesn't stall over making those heavy units. And sentries have a good tendency of stacking behind roach. Now you see I have 115 minerals, and let's see what I'm going to do. Now top is being defended easily by the Firebat. Simply the guys are repairing Firebat, and it's a no-brainer how to deal with that wave. Bottom is deep into their lane. You can see on the minimap how bottom is progressing, and there is a little bit of a discussion as to how to control mid-row and where to get the advantage. Okay, so the decision is to send in the bottom because we have a Firebat on top, and that will be and that would make our job very easy to defend on top. Now it seems like that I'm going for 250 pylon. We're defending our lanes pretty successfully. We're pushing, so I can get away with jumping all the way to the second degree pylon. Now our defense and the way that we opened the game, which was throwing out a lot of pylons, allowed me to jump to that second pylon right away. 8 minutes is typically too early for the regular game to pylon, but I recognize this advantage, and I think this time I can start with building heavy units. Now we're pushing bottom. I think they messed up their mid-row traffic, so we have a pretty hefty stuff on the bottom. As I had correctly mentioned that we have a Firebat, there's no reason for us to be sending our wave stop, so we had created a dual push on both waves. So that means these guys are busy defending. If they're busy defending, they are not busy thinking, oh, I see what they were up to. They were saving for ultras. So they decided to lure us into that Hydra push and then try to kill us with these ultras. Well, now what we need to do is to catch up on these immortals, and while they were saving for ultras, I was going into pylon. That means we are going to be pushed a little. I am advising to make Infestor. Now what this does, Infestor syncs really well with Immortal, and it helps to slow down these ultras. Now Tatanka is asking me, why am I asking for these units? And I'm explaining it. You know, Infestor does not really counter Ultra that well, but it amplifies Immortal, because Immortal has a bonus damage against Ultra. So you can see that we're still throwing a lot of jeopardy on the bottom, but now I have to send all of our mid on top, because there is an Ultra Rush coming along. An Ultra Rush is very tricky to defend with dragging. Now they had defended top successfully, their Ultras has spawned, and look at this. An army of Ultralisks rushing through our top. Our units are just spawning. Mac is doing the dragging thing. I am doing the dragging thing. So the idea there is that units are going to spawn. Ultras are going to be separated from their main pack, and then Immortals are going to take care of Ultras. And then look at the strong sync. We had Hydra and Immortals at the same time syncing. So we're going to have a strong push on top. Unfortunately, there is another push on the bottom, and this is the game of Ultralisk Rush. If you mess up sending you see my Hydras are going bottom, I recognize that the bottom lane is being pushed, and we need units crucially on the bottom to get defense against Ultra. And look how many Ultra there is. There was a residue Ultra from defending our wave, and then there was another wave of Ultras that caught up with the first wave. So now we are in jeopardy, because these guys are like ripping us apart from all over the place, and that interferes with the team communication. Now we have some infestors. In fact, we have more than enough. Ideally now with these Ultras, we would throw in a couple of more motherships. Now Emos or Hydras are synced. and this wave is going to push these ultras pretty successfully. Mac is doing an excellent job dragging the units and separating their waves while giving us enough time to spawn. I have no idea what these mutas are for. Quite frankly, yes, they're all ground, but that muta is not going to make or break the day. Our push on top is turned, so that means we're going to get a break from these ultras on the bottom, but I have to remember to swing my mid on top so that we're not getting squished by that ultra. Now, if we had mothership on top, it would do us a great deal because it would slow down ultra and allowed us to spawn and send more units to the bottom wave, stacking it up. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, so we have to send our wave to the top, and they are countering with Archons. So let's see what's happening on the income side. We are slightly ahead on the income side altogether, and I think we have this ultralisk situation under control, much to the credit of mid-row swing and much to the credit of Mac doing his job of playing the defense. Now we have more mutas coming along in the mid-row, and with the game being fast-paced, so fast, things are happening, we can now push the pylon because we are pushing both lanes and they're catching up on income, but we have to play this game of having a strong hand. Yeah, that is recognized. Now Mac recognized that Tatanka is putting crappy units in the middle. Why these units are crappy? Because they're not going to make a difference, and they will just eat up space in the mid row. With 4 players playing in the mid row, obviously you're not going to be able to fit 90 times 4, 360 supply in the mid. So you want to save your mid spots for high supply units like Colossus, carriers, whatever. Now I'm adding those motherships because we need them. Instead of having that muta, we would be... Muta does stack up, you know, against that ultra, so, but we'll see. Okay, so I took care of making mothership cores. You can see that these are in sync. Now what this will allow us to do is to slow down those ultras, and it would slow down that mid-row rush. Now they had to nuke, which is a good indicator. So the rush, we have Banshees, we have Ultras and Bloodlords. Well, and then we also have Tempests. Tempests this early are not going to be a game winner. In fact, this is a little bit of an investment up ahead. It's an investment down the road. When we would be able to take Ultra under control, when we would be able to take units under control, now they went battle cruisers, then Tempests would stack, you know, and provide that spam effect that they do. However, it's a little bit premature for now to make a crucial advantage. Now, they have Ultras, they have Archons, so not sure how this combination is going to play out strongly, but let's find out and see. In the meantime, we are stacking up Tempests, and we can do that because we are ahead on income. So our game is to go massive. They have Bloodlords, they have Ultralisks that are massive, they have battle cruisers that are massive. So Tempest is going to have a great time doing damage to those massive units. So you can see that the game is more or less stable now. There's less these ultra rushes coming along, and we had frankly saved the nukes. Now we have medevacs on the bottom. Those will repair corruptors, and we have Tempests, so we would also require a good deal of Dingles or science vessels to repair those things. Now we are rolling out our Tempest spam because we can, and we are countering the end game of them. They went battle cruisers. Not sure why, but they did. So we are countering their mid-roll, and at 20 minutes, this is stable. I maxed my supply. We forced the second nuke. Ultras does create this chaos. Now, when the supply is maxed, we no longer need those opening minute units like Hydras and Mutas. So I typically remind players to remove these guys so we can... Oh, look at their mid. They're losing mid-row. I think this game is pretty much decided. Yeah, they either missed a nuke or some way or another, didn't really happen for them. I think they nuked once and they had to nuke again, and they weren't reluctant to do that. Gustavo, I guess he's gonna save his nuke for the next game. Now, when you're winning, you don't push for heroes like this. It is much more efficient to invest in upgrades. You're winning the game, you're taking down the buildings. Don't get a hero. Invest in upgrades. I'm probably pushing my toss air because we have a bunch of Tempest stacked around. So this is it. It was a pretty fun game, pretty competitive game. They tried the Ultra Rush. We were able to come back with superior defense by Mac with good unit coordination, teamwork, and rolling out those Immortals, rolling out those Infestors to slow down Ultra, then followed up with Mothership cores, and then got our advantage on the he says he missed a nuke. So yeah, I guess he missed a nuke. That's what happened. Got our advantage on the economy, rolled out higher economy units, and it was a tight game. You can see that we were almost maxed at around maxed in supply at around the 20-minute mark. I will post more of these. Keep in mind that this game was recorded pre-patch, and now it seems like party versus party doesn't happen that frequently as it used to. Nonetheless, we're rolling out our heroes, and I'm rolling out my upgrades because, I think that getting upgrades is far much more superior than getting heroes when you are cleaning somebody's base. Thanks a lot for watching. This was Naughty. I hope you had fun, and I hope you learned a few tricks that you can utilize for your game. Now, as a rule of thumb and as a rule of practice, I put cannons and chalupas around Nexus to defend against potential Kerrigan snipe. I didn't see that many Kerrigans on their side, but I do this as a practice kind of thing to build a good habit of defending Kerrigan snipe. And I also keep my worker with a nuke available, ready to nuke. It didn't happen this time, but this is good practice. So subscribe if you haven't done so, and have fun playing Nexus Wars. This was Naughty. All the best.